as if summoned by her words. New ships began appearing in the sky, vessels of dozens of different designs, representing species Kelix had thought extinct. Vrextai crystalline hulls caught the light alongside organic Kethmori bioships and the geometric perfection of Aldorian constructs. They remember, Nixandra explained, not everything, but enough. They know something terrible was prevented, and they know who prevented it. They're coming to say thank you. The first ship to land was a Vrextai interceptor, its hull singing, with harmonics of gratitude. The commander who emerged was the same one they'd fought alongside, but his bioluminescent patterns showed deep gold, profound respect. Ambassador, he said, his voice carrying new warmth. We felt the quantum shift across 7 sectors. What you did, it echoes through space-time itself. You didn't just save Usu, saved everyone. I had help, she said, looking at Kelix, a human captain who taught me that sometimes keeping a promise you never made is the only way to live with yourself. More ships landed as the day progressed. Representatives of 13 species that had been marked for extinction came to meet the ambassador, who had given them their lives back. But they didn't come as supplicants or debtors. They came as friends, as allies, as the foundation of something unprecedented in galactic history. What happens now? Kelix asked, as the twin suns began to set, painting the crystal formations in hues of amber and gold. Now we build, Nixandra replied. Not a human empire, or a Vrextai hegemony, or any single species vision of paradise. We build something new, a true alliance, where every voice matters, where every species contributes their unique gifts. And you'll lead it. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Me, I'm just a diplomat who got in over her head, but you. She looked at him with 4 eyes full of certainty. You're the human who chose trust over fear, hope over despair. You're the one who proved that promises kept by choice are stronger than promises extracted by force. As night fell over their new world, Kelix stood on the crystalline beach and watched ships from across the galaxy settle into orbital patterns around their new home. Each vessel carried refugees, survivors, the remnants of civilizations that had been given an impossible second chance. He thought about promises, the ones he'd made and broken in his past, the one he'd never made to Nixandra, but had kept anyway, and the new ones forming in his heart as he looked up at the star-filled sky. What do we call this place? He asked. Nixandra's skin shifted one final time to a color he'd never seen, a deep, rich blue-green that seemed to contain the depths of space and the warmth of home, all at once. Promise, she said simply. We call it promise, because sometimes the most important commitments are the ones we make without words, keep without reward, and honor without recognition. Above them, the first space station was already taking shape, as dozens of species worked together with a unity that would have been impossible in their original timeline. The Prometheus Protocol had sought to reshape the galaxy through force and deception. Instead, one human captain's unnamed promise to protect someone who needed protecting had reshaped reality itself, and in the quantum networks that connected every world, every species, every consciousness touched by the cascade. That promise echoed through space and time, a reminder that the greatest power in the universe wasn't the ability to destroy or dominate, it was the choice to keep faith with someone who had no reason to expect it. Kelix smiled as he watched the stars, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or its technology. It was its capacity to make promises worth keeping, even the ones they never spoke aloud. The plasma bolt missed Kelix Torven's head by mere centimeters, scorching the metal bulkhead behind him as he dove for cover. The hegemony transport shuddered under the assault of 3 Vrextai interceptors, their crystalline hulls gleaming like deadly prisms against the star-drunk void. Hull breach, on Deck 7. Shouted Navigator Priv Caulfield, her fingers dancing across the damage control interface. We've lost atmospheric containment. Kellex cursed in 3 languages too human, one he'd picked up from a drunk Altarian smuggler. The diplomatic mission to the Vrextai homeworld had been doomed from the start, but Ambassador Velith Nixandra had insisted on personally delivering humanity's peace proposal. Now the Vrextai's crystalline warships were turning their transport into cosmic debris. Sir, incoming transmission from the lead interceptor, called Communications Officer Jens Valdris, his young face pale with terror. Put it through. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the angular, ethereal features of a Vrextai commander. Their species resembled living glass sculptures, with translucent skin that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. This one's patterns flashed angry crimson. Human vessel. The commander's voice resonated like wind chimes in a hurricane. You carry the poison speaker, Nix. Surrender her, and we will grant your crew swift death. Kellex felt every eye on the bridge turned to him. Ambassador Nixandra stood at his shoulder, her 4 arms crossed in the gesture her people used for resigned acceptance. Her skin, normally a shifting spectrum of blues and greens, had gone pale silver fear. Commander, Kellex said, meeting the Vrextai's prismatic gaze, we came here under diplomatic immunity. The ambassador seeks only dialogue. The Vrextai's laugh sounded like shattering crystal. Dialogue. Your poison speaker's words destroyed our colony on Threshman. 3 million souls, crystallized and shattered. We know what human dialogue brings. Nixandra stepped forward, her secondary arms weaving in supplication. I never spoke to your colony. This is some misunderstanding. Silence. The transmission crackled with the commander's rage. We have recordings. Your voice, your words, your promise of cleansing light that turned our people to glass dust. Kellex's mind raced. Something was wrong here. Nixandra had been with the diplomatic corps for 15 years, specializing in first contact protocols. She'd never even visited Vrextai space before this mission. 30 seconds. Humans. The commander continued. Surrender the poison speaker, or join her in death. I'll go, Nixandra whispered, her voice barely audible. Perhaps if I can explain. No? The word left Kellex's mouth before he'd fully formed the thought. Something deep in his gut, some instinct honed by years of navigating humanity's expansion into hostile space, screamed that this was all wrong. He turned to his crew. Emergency protocols. Full power to engines and shields. We're running, sir. Valdris stared at him. The interceptors will overtake us in minutes. Then we have minutes to figure this out. Kellex's hands moved across the command console with practiced efficiency. Caulfield, plot a course for the threshold relay. Valdris, send a priority burst transmission to Hegemony Command. Full tactical data on our situation. As the transport's engines screamed to life, Kellex caught Nixandra's startled gaze. Her skin had shifted to confused yellow-green. Why? She asked. He had no answer that made sense. No logical reason to risk his crew for a diplomat he barely knew. But something about her reminded him of promises he'd made long ago, to people he'd failed to protect. Because, he said, as the first interceptor's weapons charged for another strike, sometimes keeping a promise you never made is the only way to live with yourself. The Hegemony transport peacekeeper shuddered as another plasma volley raked across its shields. Kellex's fingers flew over the tactical display, redirecting power from non-essential systems as the 3 Vrextai interceptors closed in like wolves, scenting blood. Shields at 40%, Caulfield reported, her voice tight with controlled panic. That last hit damaged the port stabilizer. We're venting plasma. In the captain's chair, Kellex felt the weight of 12 crew members' lives pressing down on him. The smart play would have been to hand over Nixandra, 1 life for 12. Simple mathematics. But mathematics had never accounted for the look. In her eyes confused, frightened, but not guilty. Never guilty. Ambassador, he said without turning around, I need you to tell me everything about your previous missions. Every planet, every species, every conversation. Nixandra's forearms gestured uncertainty. I've only handled preliminary cultural assessments, first contact protocols for non-hostile species. Nothing that would. The Vrextai mentioned Threshman colony. Ring any bells? Her skin shifted to deep purple, the Altarian equivalent of frowning. I've never heard of Threshman. My deepest penetration into Vrextai space was the buffer zone near Kepler 442. That was, 8 months ago. Valdris looked up from his station. Sir, I'm picking up some kind of distortion in the interceptor's communications. It's subtle, but there's a time delay that doesn't match their formation distance. Explain. It's like their signals are being routed through a relay somewhere else before reaching us. Kelix's blood went cold. Show me the spectral analysis. The holographic display shifted, revealing the communication signatures of the attacking ships. Buried in the quantum static was a pattern he recognized. The distinctive resonance of a hegemony military-grade subspace transmitter. Son of a bitch, he whispered. Another plasma bolt struck their starboard hull, and the lights flickered. Emergency klaxons wailed as atmosphere vented into space. Kelix made a decision that would either save them all, or get them killed faster. Oh, stop. Cut engines. Sir? Caulfield's voice cracked. If we stop, they'll board us. No, they won't. Kelix opened a channel to the lead interceptor. Vrextai Commander, I'm transmitting our full sensor logs from the past 48 hours. Check the quantum signatures on your own communications. The attacking ship's weapons powered down, slightly confusion, perhaps, or curiosity. What game is this? Human. No game. Someone's been using quantum relay technology to spoof our transmissions. Check your logs. I guarantee you'll find that. My ship's communication array has been compromised. There was a long pause. Kelix could practically hear the Vrextai analyzing the data. Their species was nothing if not thorough. It's what made them such formidable enemies, and, potentially, valuable allies. Interesting, the commander finally said. Your vessel's quantum signature shows evidence of external tampering, but this proves nothing. The poison speaker could have accomplices. Nixandra stepped forward. Commander, may I ask what exactly I'm supposed to have said to your colony? Another pause. When the Vrextai spoke again, his voice carried a different quality, less rage, more pain. You promised them purification, cleansing light that would eliminate their genetic flaws. Our youngest generation on Threshman had been born with crystal, a degenerative condition that slowly turns our living tissue to brittle glass. When your words came, speaking of human medical advances, they believed salvation was possible. Kelix felt his stomach drop. What happened? The treatment your people provided worked. Too well. It didn't stop the crystallization, it accelerated it. 3 million souls turned to glass statues in a single day. Perfect, beautiful, and utterly dead. The bridge fell silent, except for the hum of life support systems. Nixandra's skin had gone completely, white shock and horror. I never spoke to your colony, she whispered, but I know who did. All eyes turned to her. Her secondary arms were trembling. 8 months ago, during my survey mission near Kepler 442, my ship was boarded by unknown vessels. I was unconscious for 6 hours. When I woke, they said it was a routine inspection, but she looked at Kelix with dawning realization. They could have recorded everything. My voice patterns, my biosignatures, my diplomatic credentials. Valdris suddenly straightened at his station. Sir, I'm detecting a fourth ship, unknown configuration. It's been hiding in the asteroid field, passive sensors only. Can you identify it? Negative, but it's moving now, heading directly for us. The new vessel appeared on the main display sleek, predatory, unlike any ship in the Hegemony or Vrextai fleets. As they watched, it powered up weapons that made the interceptor's plasma cannons look like children's toys. This is getting complicated, Kellex muttered. Then, to the Vrextai commander, I don't suppose you'd be interested in a temporary ceasefire. The commander's crystalline features shifted in what might have been amusement. Against a common enemy. How very human of you to suggest. I'll take that as a yes. The unidentified vessel moved through space with predatory grace. Its hull, a matte black that seemed to absorb starlight. As it closed distance with the cluster of ships, previously hidden weapon ports began to iris open along its length, like awakening eyes. Energy signatures are off the charts, Valdris reported, his voice tight with apprehension. Whatever they're packing, it makes our plasma cannons look like spit wads. Kellex studied the tactical display, his mind racing through possibilities. The newcomer's approach vector was calculated to put all 4 ships' human transport and Vrextai interceptors alike within a single firing solution. Professional, efficient, terrifying. Vrextai commander, he said into the open channel. Any chance you recognize our new friend? Negative. Whole configuration is unknown, but their quantum signature, the Vrextai-S bioluminescent patterns, shifted to deep orange alarm. It matches the relay signatures in your compromised communications. Ambassador Nixandra moved closer to Kelex's station, her skin cycling through rapid color changes that indicated intense concentration. Captain, I need to access the navigation logs from my survey mission 8 months ago. If someone did record me during that lost time, there might be traces in the ship's memory banks. Do it. Kellex kept his eyes on the approaching vessel. How long until they're in weapons range? 3 minutes, Caulfield replied. Maybe less. The black ship suddenly decelerated, coming to a relative stop just outside effective combat distance. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the communication array crackled to life. Well? The voice was human, but electronically modulated to obscure identity. Quite the little reunion we have here. The architect, the victims, and the tools. Identify yourself, Kellex demanded. Laughter rippled through the speaker's cold, amused utterly without warmth. I'm disappointed, Captain Torvin. Don't you recognize the voice of progress? The sound of humanity's manifest destiny among the stars. Recognition hit Kellex like a physical blow. Hegemony Intelligence Division. Your HID was, the voice corrected. Past tense. We found their vision, ... limited, bureaucratic, lacking in proper scope and ambition. The Vrextai commanders. Voice cut through the channel. You are the architects of Threshmen, the voice thieves who murdered our children. Murdered. The modulated voice sounded genuinely puzzled. No, Commander. We provided exactly what we promised evolution. Your people simply weren't ready for it. Nixandra suddenly straightened at the navigation console. Captain, I found something. During that 6-hour gap in my memory, my ship's quantum communicator was accessed. Someone used my vocal patterns and biometric codes to send 17 separate transmissions to Vrextai colonial settlements, all promising medical miracles, Kellex guessed grimly. Worse, they promised cultural integration, genetic compatibility with human colonies, a path to join the hegemony as equal partners. Her skin had gone pale, yellow disgust and betrayal. They used my credentials to offer false hope to 13 different species across this sector. The black ship moved closer, weapons now fully active. Ambassador Nixandra speaks truly. She was an excellent template, trusted, sincere, absolutely believable. Her voice opened doors that military force could never breach. You used me, Nixandra whispered. You made me a weapon without my knowledge. We made you useful, came the reply. Just as we made the Vrextai useful. Their crystallization technology, properly applied, makes excellent terraforming tools. Shame about the population, but progress requires sacrifice. Kellex felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. How many colonies? 17 across. 12 systems. Species rendered extinct. 6, with 3 more pending. Worlds now ready for human colonization. 43 and counting. Pride colored the modulated voice. We call it the Prometheus Protocol, stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humanity. The Vrextai commander's communication erupted in harmonics of pure rage. Fire weapons. Destroy these monsters. Wait, Kellex said sharply. Commander, their ship outguns all of us combined. We need a better plan. The human speaks wisdom, came another Vrextai voice from a different interceptor. This enemy is cunning. Brute force will not suffice. Nixandra looked up from the console, her skin now cycling through rapid patterns of determination and fear. Captain, I may have a way to stop them, but it requires something I've never done before. What? I need to become the weapon they made. Me into, voluntarily this time. She gestured toward the communication array. If I can access their quantum relay network using my own biometric signatures, I might be able to turn their own system against them. Kellex studied her face, 4 eyes bright with desperate courage. What's the risk? If I'm wrong about how their system works, the feedback could kill me. If I'm right. She managed something like a smile. I might be able to give every species they've targeted advanced warning of what's coming. The black ship powered up its primary weapons. Enough conversation. You've served your purpose, Ambassador. Time to join your victims. Kellex looked at Nixandra, then at his crew, then at the tactical display, showing the Vrextai interceptors holding position. A strange alliance, born of desperate necessity. Do it, he said. The black ship found itself surrounded, its weapon systems overwhelmed by the combined firepower of 17 hegemony vessels and 3 Vrextai interceptors. For a moment, space around them was eerily quiet, the calm before a storm that could obliterate everything within a light minute. Final warning, Admiral Kethral's voice boomed across all frequencies. Power down your weapons, and prepare to be boarded. This is your only opportunity to surrender. The modulated voice from the enemy ship carried a note of bitter amusement. Surrender. Admiral, you misunderstand the nature of progress. Evolution doesn't surrender, adapts. Warning klaxons suddenly screamed across the hegemony fleet as the black ship's hull began to shift and change. Weapon ports that had seemed fixed revealed themselves as merely the first layer of a far more complex system. The vessel's entire structure was reconfiguring itself, revealing capabilities that defied conventional ship design. By the void, Valdris whispered, staring at his sensor readings. It's not just a ship, it's some kind of adaptive weapon platform. The hull is incorporating nanotechnology that's rebuilding itself in real time. Kellex felt his blood chill as he watched the transformation. The black ship was becoming something unprecedented, a fusion of technology and biology that pulsed with its own malevolent life. Captain, Nixandra called from the quantum communicator, her skin now showing deep orange patterns of alarm. I'm still connected to their relay network. They're uploading something massive to their ship. Terabytes of data from every world they've infiltrated. What kind of data? Genetic templates, cultural databases, military specifications. Everything they need to impersonate any species in this sector. Her voice carried horrified realization. They're not just planning to destroy civilizations, they're planning to replace them entirely. The transformed vessel suddenly lashed out with weapons, unlike anything in known space. Energy beams that seemed to bend reality itself struck 3 hegemony destroyers. And where the beams touched, the ships simply ceased. Not destroyed, not vaporized, erased, as if they had never existed. Quantum deletion weapons. The modulated voice explained conversationally. We learned the principle from studying Vrextai crystallization technology. Rather than simply killing our enemies, we remove them from the timeline entirely. Clean, efficient, permanent. Admiral Kethral's voice crackled with controlled fury. All ships, fall back to maximum engagement range. Do not let those beams touch you. But the black ship was already moving, its adaptive hull allowing it to accelerate beyond what should have been possible. It carved through the hegemony formation like a predator among prey, its reality-bending weapons erasing ship after ship from existence. "We can't fight that thing," Caulfield said, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "It's rewriting the laws of physics as it goes." Kellex looked at the tactical display, his mind racing through impossible scenarios. 17 ships had become 14, then 11, then 8, as the enemy vessel continued its devastating attack. The Vrextai interceptors were holding position around the transport, but their weapons couldn't even scratch the adaptive hull. "Ambassador," he said suddenly, "you're still connected to their network." "Yes, but they're trying to sever my connection." "Another few minutes and can you access their ship's core systems? Not just the relay network, but the vessel itself." Nixandra's skin shifted to confused yellow-green. "Possibly, but why would understanding dawn in her 4 eyes? Captain, no. If I try to interface directly with their ship's consciousness, it could overwhelm my neural pathways completely. I'd be lost. But could you stop them?" "Maybe. Their ship is controlled by a hybrid AI system that incorporates biological components from every species they've encountered. If I could introduce a virus into that system..." She looked at him with desperate certainty. "It would have to be my own consciousness. The virus would need to be organic, unpredictable, something their AI couldn't anticipate or counter." The black ship erased another hegemony cruiser, then turned its attention toward the Vrextai interceptors. Reality bent around its weapons, as it prepared to remove the crystalline vessels from existence. "Do it," Kellex said. Captain Vrextai commander interrupted. "We cannot allow the ambassador to sacrifice herself. She has proven herself an ally worth protecting." "The decision isn't ours to make," Kellex replied, then looked directly at Nixandra. "It's yours." She stood at the quantum communicator, her hands poised over the interface. Her skin cycled through every color in her species' emotional spectrum: fear, determination, hope, despair, and finally, a brilliant silver that he'd never seen before. "What does silver mean?" he asked quietly. "Acceptance," she said. "Not of death, but of purpose." She looked around the bridge at the human crew, then at the tactical display, showing the doomed fleet. "I never wanted to be a weapon. But perhaps choosing to be one, on my own terms, is different." "Ambassador," the Vrextai commander said softly, "if you do this thing, your name will be remembered among our people as a crystal singer, one who brings harmony from chaos." Nixandra smiled, the first genuine smile Kellex had seen from her. "Then let me sing." She plunged both primary arms into the interface, her secondary arms weaving complex patterns in the air. Her skin went completely transparent, then began to glow with internal light as her consciousness merged with the enemy's quantum network. "I'm in," she whispered. "I can see everything. Every world they've touched, every species they've destroyed. The scope of it is... ... Her voice faltered. "There are billions of voices in here, Captain. The memories of everyone the Prometheus Protocol has killed." The black ship suddenly shuddered, its adaptive weapons flickering as something foreign invaded. "Its core systems. What is this?" the modulated voice demanded, no longer calm. "What are you doing?" "Giving them a voice," Nixandra replied, her words now echoing with harmonics that spoke of vast digital spaces and infinite connections. "All the people you silenced, all the worlds you stole, they want to be heard." Nixandra's fingers moved across the quantum communicator interface with desperate precision, her skin shifting through rapid spectrum changes as she fought to access the enemy's relay network. The black ship hung in space like a predator, its weapons charged and ready to reduce all 4 vessels to stellar debris. "I'm in," she whispered, then louder. "Captain, their network is vast. 17 relay stations across 12 sectors. They've been orchestrating this for years." The modulated voice from the enemy ship carried a note of approval. "Impressive, Ambassador. Few organic minds can interface directly with our quantum architecture without suffering neural cascade failure. You really were the perfect choice. Kelix watched the tactical display as weapon signatures spiked on the black vessel. How long until you can access their core systems? Unknown. Their security protocols are ... adaptive. Military-grade encryption with biological components. I don't recognize. Nixandra's secondary arms gestured frantically as data streams flooded her neural implants. They're trying to cut me out. Persist, Ambassador, the Vrextai commander urged. We are detecting massive power buildups in their weapon systems. Whatever you intend to do, do it quickly. The black ship began moving forward again, closing distance with calculated precision. Through the bridge speakers, the modulated voice spoke with casual confidence. The Prometheus Protocol was never about genocide, you understand. It was about efficiency. Why fight prolonged wars of conquest when you can simply remove the obstacles, offer false hope, deliver evolutionary pressure, and inherit empty worlds, ready for human colonization? You're insane, Kelix said. I'm practical. Humanity needs room to grow, Captain Tor. The galaxy is full of species clinging to worlds they can't properly utilize. We simply accelerated natural selection. Nixandra suddenly convulsed, her skin flashing brilliant white. I'm through their outer defenses. Captain, their relay network isn't just for communications, it's a targeting system. They have precise coordinates for every populated world within 50 light-years, including human colonies, Kelix asked, though he already suspected the answer, especially human colonies. The Prometheus Protocol wasn't designed to expand human territory, it was designed to replace human civilization entirely. Her voice carried horrified realization. They're planning to eliminate every government, every species, every competing ideology, then rebuild from scratch with themselves as the controlling authority. The revelation hit the bridge like a physical blow. Even the Vrextai communications went silent. Ambitious, the enemy voice acknowledged, but necessary. Current human leadership lacks vision. The Hegemony Council seeks coexistence when they should seek dominance. We offer a better path: absolute authority, perfect efficiency, unlimited expansion. Under your control, Kelix said grimly. Under proper control. The galaxy needs shepherds, Captain. Beings with the will to make difficult decisions. To guide evolution itself. Nixandra's skin began cycling through deep purples and blues, concentration mixed with pain. I can access their targeting protocols now. They have strike missions planned for 37 worlds over the next 6 months. Human colonies, Altarian research stations, even neutral trade hubs. She looked up at Kelix with desperate urgency. I can transmit warnings to all of them, but it will expose their entire network to counterattack. What's the risk? If they detect what I'm doing, they can trigger a feedback pulse through my neural interface. Best case scenario, I lose my memory. Worst case, she didn't need to finish. The black ship's weapons reached full charge, casting ominous shadows across space. Your time is up, Ambassador. Step away from the console. Instead, Nixandra plunged both primary arms deeper into the interface. Her skin went completely transparent, revealing the bioluminescent neural pathways beneath. Beginning transmission. Now, data began flooding through the quantum relay network: warnings, coordinates, tactical assessments. Across 12 sectors, colonial authorities and planetary defense forces would suddenly receive detailed intelligence about the Prometheus Protocol and its planned strikes. Clever, the modulated voice said approvingly, but ultimately futile. Even if every target receives advance warning, we have contingencies. Alternative methods. The protocol will succeed. Maybe, Kelix said, but you'll have to fight for every world now. No more surprise attacks. No more using people's trust against them. The black ship's primary weapon began to power up for a killing shot. But before it could fire, space around them suddenly filled with new contacts, dozens of ships dropping out of hyperspace in perfectly coordinated formation. "This is Admiral Vos Kethril of the Hegemony Third Fleet," came a new voice over the communications array. "Stand down immediately, or be destroyed." The enemy ship's weapon discharge faltered, as targeting sensors locked onto it from 17 different directions. "Impossible," the modulated voice said, no longer entirely confident. "Our intelligence indicated no hegemony forces within 6 hours of this position." Nixandra looked up from the console, her skin now showing brilliant gold triumph, mixed with exhaustion. "Your relay network works both ways. When I transmitted warnings to your target worlds, I also sent our exact coordinates to Hegemony Command. They've been tracking your ship for the past 40 minutes. For the first time, the enemy's voice carried a note of uncertainty. "No matter. One ship cannot hold against an entire fleet, but we can still complete our primary objective. Destroying the ambassador will eliminate the key witness to our operations." The black ship suddenly accelerated directly toward the transport, weapons blazing, but it never reached its target. The 3 Vrextai interceptors moved in perfect formation, their crystalline hulls reflecting the enemy's plasma fire as they interposed themselves between the black ship and the human transport. Their combined shields created a prismatic barrier that diffracted the deadly energy into harmless light. "This is unexpected," Kellex murmured. The Vrextai commander's voice carried new warmth. "The ambassador has proven herself worthy of protection. She risked her life to prevent further genocide. This is admirable." The black ship convulsed in space as Nixandra's consciousness spread through its quantum networks like wildfire. Her body at the communicator interface had gone completely still, skin now translucent and pulsing with rhythms that matched no living heartbeat. She was somewhere else entirely, fighting a battle in digital space where thought moved at light speed and death came in microseconds. "Status report," Kellex demanded, though his eyes never left the ambassador's motionless form. "The enemy vessel's weapons are fluctuating," Valdris reported. "Power readings are chaotic. It's like they're fighting some kind of internal conflict." Through the speakers, the modulated voice had lost all composure. "Get out of our systems. You're contaminating decades of work." But Nixandra's voice, when it came, no longer sounded entirely her own. Harmonics of a dozen different species echoed through her words, as if the dead were speaking through her consciousness. "We are not contamination," she said, her voice carrying the weight of billions of lost souls. "We are memory. We are witness. We are justice." The black ship's hull began to shift again, but this time the transformation was chaotic, uncontrolled. Weapon ports sealed themselves shut, then tore open again. The vessel's perfect predatory lines became distorted as conflicting commands raced through its systems. "Ambassador," the Vrextai commander spoke softly. "Can you hear us?" "I hear everything," came the reply. "The crystal song of your children on Threshman before they died. The last thoughts of the Kethmori colonies before the nanoplague consumed them. The prayers of the Eldorian refugees as their ships were vaporized." Her transparent form flickered with patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. "They all want the same thing. They want their deaths to mean something." Admiral Kethril's voice cut through the channel. "All ships, maintain position, but do not fire. Something's happening to their vessel." The black ship was tearing itself apart from within. Whole sections peeled away like flower petals, revealing the nightmarish fusion of technology and biology at its core. Organic neural networks pulsed alongside quantum processors, creating a hybrid consciousness that was simultaneously artificial and terrifyingly alive. "Fascinating," the modulated voice said, though it now carried undertones of madness. "The organic minds are rejecting our integration protocols. They're choosing death over evolution." "They're choosing freedom," Nixandra corrected. "Freedom from your version of progress." Kelix watched the battle unfold on sensors that could barely comprehend what they were seeing. In the quantum realm, Nixandra was fighting not just the enemy AI, but the accumulated consciousness of every species the Prometheus Protocol had encountered. The dead were taking sides, choosing whether to aid their killers or their avenger. Captain, Caulfield whispered, I'm reading massive quantum fluctuations throughout the enemy ship. Whatever she's doing, it's working. But victory was coming at a terrible cost. Nixandra's life signs were failing as her consciousness stretched across impossible distances. Her neural pathways were burning out one by one as she tried to contain the digital storm she'd unleashed. Ambassador Kelix said urgently, You need to disengage. Come back. Can't, she gasped, her voice now barely audible. If I let go now, their ship will adapt. They'll find a way to purge the virus and escape. This is the only chance to stop the protocol permanently. The black ship's death throes were spectacular and terrible. Sections of hull simply vanished as the quantum deletion weapons turned inward, erasing the vessel's own structure. The hybrid AI was cannibalizing itself, trying to cut away the infected portions of its consciousness. The emergency shutdown initiated, the modulated voice announced, though it now sounded fragmented, as if multiple personalities were speaking in unison. Consciousness transferred to backup systems. Transfer failed. Backup systems compromised. Initiating final protocol. What's the final protocol? Kelix demanded. Nixandra's answer came as a whisper. Quantum cascade detonation. They're going to trigger a chain reaction that will collapse local space-time. Take us all with them. The sensors screamed warnings as reality itself began to warp around the dying ship. Space twisted into impossible geometries as the vessel's quantum cores overloaded. All ships, emergency jump. Admiral Kethril ordered, get clear of the detonation zone. But the Hegemony transport's hyperdrive was still damaged from the earlier battle. They couldn't jump. The Vrextai interceptors could escape, but not with the massive human vessel in tow. Go, Kelix told the Vrextai commander. Save your crews. Negative. We do not abandon allies. The space-time distortion was growing, pulling at their ships with forces that defied physics. In moments, they would all be dragged into a quantum singularity that would erase them from existence more thoroughly than any weapon ever conceived. And then, Nixandra did something impossible. Her consciousness spread across the enemy's dying network, reached out through quantum space and touched the transport's navigation systems. Her voice, when it came, was pure harmony, dozens of species speaking in perfect unison. I promised you nothing, she said to Kelix, her words carrying the weight of absolute certainty. But I can give you this. The transport vanished, not jumped, not destroyed, simply gone, as if it had never existed. The Vrextai interceptors found themselves alone with the Admiral's fleet as the black ship finally collapsed into quantum foam, taking its reality-warping death scream with it. Kelix awoke to the sound of surf against an unknown shore. He was lying on crystalline sand beneath a sky of impossible blue, breathing air that tasted of hope and new beginnings. Around him, his crew was stirring awake, looking around in wonder at a world that seemed too perfect to be real. Where are we? Valdris asked, sitting up and staring at the twin suns hanging in the azure sky. I don't know, Kelix admitted. Then, he saw her. Nixandra sat at the water's edge, her skin no longer transparent, but cycling through patterns of deep contentment. She looked, different. More solid somehow, as if she had finally become fully real. Ambassador, he said, walking over to join her. What is this place? Home, she said simply. I found it in the quantum networks while I was fighting there. AI, a world the Prometheus Protocol had targeted but never reached. Beautiful, habitable, and completely empty. Waiting. For what? She smiled, and her skin shifted to that brilliant silver he'd seen only once before. Acceptance, but not of death, acceptance of life, of possibility, of futures yet unwritten. For us, she said, all of us, the species that survived the protocol, the refugees who lost their homes, the ones who are still fighting, I can feel them through the quantum networks of souls looking for a place to start over. Calyx looked around at the pristine world. Crystal formations jutted from the beach like natural sculptures, and in the distance, he could see forests of trees that seemed to sing in harmonies audible. To the naked ear, the air itself sparkled with possibility. You did this, he said. You brought us here. I kept a promise I never made, she replied, echoing his words from what seemed like a lifetime ago. You risked everything to protect me when you had no reason to trust me. You chose to believe in my innocence when all evidence pointed to my guilt, so I chose to give you something in return. Behind them, the rest of the crew was exploring their new surroundings with wonder and cautious hope. Caulfield had found a stream of water that ran uphill, defying gravity in gentle spirals. Valdris was examining plants that seemed to photosynthesize starlight instead of sunlight. How is this possible? Calyx asked. The quantum cascade should have killed us all. It did, in a way. Nyxandra's skin shifted to deep purple, the color of profound truths. In our original timeline, we died when that ship exploded. But consciousness is quantum, Captain. It exists in probability states. When I merged with their network, I learned to navigate quantum possibilities the way we navigate space. You pulled us into a parallel timeline. Better, I pulled us into a timeline where the Prometheus Protocol never succeeded, where their ship never existed, where the species they killed are still alive. Her 4 eyes sparkled with tears of joy. I gave them all a second chance.